So, Rog Constantine from
Tim Matthews.
from Bournemouth Community Church, BCC. We love you guys, and you've got your 100-year anniversary coming up, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah.
So, Rog, how does it feel? You're 100 years old, or the ministry. You're not looking 100 years old, but were you?
I feel 100 years old.
I mean, you started it, did you, 100 years ago?
Yeah, of course. I was there. If I look this good at 100 years old, that revival has come.
Yeah.
The church started, 100 years ago. Amazing, really.
It is amazing. Just give us a feel for how the church family at BCC are feeling about that.
I guess it's a momentous moment. It's also a moment where you dare to tread that others have been before you. You know, we don't want to create a monument. I mean, Life Centre is a pretty big monument, but actually you want to actually create a movement for the next 100 years. And I guess for us as leaders, for us as staff team, but perhaps even so for those of us who are just part of the body, I say part of the body because we're the engine room, it's a moment that you think, let's not mess this up.
Yeah. How can, the rest of the church, how could Lovechurch pray for you guys as you're going through that, both celebrating the past and what's been and the witness of BCC in Bournemouth over 100 years, amazing, as the town's grown. You've been right at the heart of it, but also then looking to the future as well. How can we pray for you guys?
I think, Tim, we learn from the past and then we build from the past, but we don't live in the past. And that's really important for us at this moment. Strategically, for us as church, there were a couple of things that really, really are our DNA. One is the area that we're in, being family orientated, being community orientated, and loving an amazing God in worship and hanging out with him. And when we've carried those values through those last 100 years, we've done okay. I say okay, God's really helped us. When we stray away from those, then we tend to mess up. And actually, as we think through, post-COVID or, we're coming through that now, God's been stripping so much of that away for us, I guess like you guys as well, where you are in Lovechurch, and we've chatted along with many other pastors in the town, that actually, what does the next 100 years look like? Well, who knows? But what are we still called to do? We're called to make disciples. And, we don't want a monument, as I said earlier, based on what we did those last 100 years ago. Because for us, perhaps at BCC, but also we're just thinking through, is the method that we did, is that the right method that we've been wedded to for the future of the church for the next 100 years?
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest question that we've got to ask ourselves. So that we would really love prayer for.
We'll pray for you and for ourselves also. The message doesn't change, but the method has to be made new in every society, every context, every generation.
Yeah.
As the delivery mechanisms change. Who'd have thought we wouldn't have been on Zoom a couple of years ago?
Yeah. But isn't it our security is so tied up with method? I don't know about how, we chatted before we were just doing this, we're both tired. And tiredness from what? Well, tiredness probably from change, like everybody. Adapting to change and uncertainty is just a huge drain on our being. And so my natural tendency is to go back to what I liked, to go back what I know, to go back to the method because it provides me a sense of security. Where I think God is just deconstructing some of that and going, hey, come back to me. I'm your security. This is the place that you start from. And everything else, who cares about the method as long as you're doing the mission? And so,
yeah. And Rog, we meet to pray regularly with other pastors all the way through the pandemic, which has just been an amazing source of comfort, of strength, of wisdom. Together, we've been trying to discern what is the Spirit saying to the church in Bournemouth, not just each individual church family, but the one church in Bournemouth together. What's your sort of sense of that, Rog? What's the Spirit saying to the church?
Well, I think we're, one level we're all listening to what's going on globally, but also nationally, but also locally. I think the sense of unity that we've got as we prayed together is that God is, as I've mentioned before, there's a sense of deconstruction, but there are senses of unity and purpose together. Hey, we're not fighting against each other. We're fighting for the kingdom. We're called as the resource vessels to load as many people as we can with the glorious gospel. And that's been a joy, and I think a purposeful thing that has been born out of 2, 3, 4 years of relationship between us all, as we've shared, prayed, cried, because we have cried together, laughed at together, whatever we've done together. So I think the Spirit is saying, press in, because where there's unity, there is blessing also. And what else could I say? I think we need to be brave. One of the things that we've done in this locality through people like, Faith Works and Alistair and others, is that the church has been noticed in the town. We're not hidden away somewhere. They've noticed us. And so we have this moment where there's a spiritual awakening for many, where we can step in and just share who Jesus is. One, with the practical stuff like you've done with Love Your Neighbour, we've done with Food Bank and the NHS. And so we've got this moment, and to step into that moment, I'm thinking God's saying to the church in Bournemouth, come on, let's be courageous. We can do this.
Mate, that's such a great message. Thank you so much, Rog. We'll be praying for you.
Likewise, for you guys.
Keep going. Keep going. 100 years more for
it's time for you to catch up.
Yeah, we'll catch you up. Thanks, Rog.
See ya.